My name is Nick McBurney. I'm an antiquarian bookseller, and I'm going to be talking to you about an act of incidental or accidental digitisation. Stop. Before you watch this any further, look down to the text below this video and please read it, and then click through the links provided. Principally, the link to a Christie's description, and the one below that to a Twitter thread of mine with a complete set of images of the same manuscript. Great. You've done that. Perfect. Now, this is a lightning talk. I have almost no time, so I'm going to move at extreme speed with apologies for diction and comprehension and everything else. I'm going to assume that you have read the text below, that you've seen the pictures, and that you have an idea of what the starting premise is generally. Joined Twitter, followed a little controversy about a manuscript for sale, manuscript that I'd viewed, manuscript that I photographed fully because it was the midst of partial lockdown in the UK and I had a client who was interested. Got a bit narked by various, to my eyes, somewhat counterproductive discussions, unfortunately, about the manuscript sale, and annoyed by the trope of the trade disappearing material from public view, and asked my client, asked Christie's, and bunged the whole shebang up. So, you'll have seen the different image qualities that Christie's basically photographed to present this magnificent, shiny, quite literally heavy object for sale to entice and to delight the eye. And my rather crummy pictures, not shot in a studio, shot in a viewing gallery at Christie's over 2 hours on a Monday afternoon on my smartphone, with no professional lighting, periodically having to move because other people were viewing at the same time. And it shows. They were meant to document condition. They do. They were meant to document the manuscript. They do, I'd say. They don't flatter it. They're not pretty. They're not aesthetically helpful. But the nice upshot for me was I put them on Twitter. A librarian at the Fine Arts Library in Harvard called Amanda Steinberg dropped me a note to say would I mind if they were hosted as part of a Islamic arts image reference, digital image reference they maintain. I said yes, they aren't up there online yet, but they hopefully will be. Obviously the pandemic, among many other things it does, continues to slow down a lot of normal processes. And the result is that it's digitized, not well. There's not really any kind of professional metadata involved, and it's not of the standard I would hope for anything I use when I'm looking at an institutional digitization project. But I think it's still useful. People certainly seem to have suggested that it is. It's fun if you're a general punter and you don't have the option to be in London and go and view a sale, or if you're a scholar. I know this for a fact. I've already had one of the two people I know of who are working on this group of manuscripts copied in Iran on Chinese paper, messaged me to say that they actually found the image set useful for an article that's forthcoming in a volume. And the other person I know was able, luckily for her, to view it in the flesh. So I think there is some utility there, basically. It's not, and I think it's worth emphasizing that if you are someone in the right place with a smartphone at the right time and a wee bit of cloud storage accessible, you can do this. Most auction houses, most dealers, to be honest, if you ask nicely, 9 times out of 10, particularly for something where the text is not by any stretch of the imagination unique, are not going to stop you photographing the whole thing if you want to, so long as you schedule it with them and are polite. Images you get may not be as good as you would otherwise. Obviously, it doesn't keep the object physically accessible, but it's better than nothing. I don't want to suggest this is a good substitute for professional survey projects. It also involves what is effectively free labor. For me, it was a sunk cost because I'd viewed this for a client. Didn't make any money on that because it was on a commission basis if they chose to bid, but those are the breaks. At the end of the day, this boils down to people having reasons to do this. For me, I'd already done it. I'm not sure I would shoot a sort of 300 folio manuscript for free for everyone, but I don't mind being asked. And to be honest, half the time the fun for me is that I learn things. And I think it's worth emphasizing because I was talking to a conservator I use about this talk that I'm trying to give you, and she was surprised to discover that you could just walk in and do this. And I think the point I want to make is you can. Give it a go. I'm out of time, afraid.